What's going on, YouTube? This is your girl, Weight Gotta Go. It has been a minute since I checked in with you guys, and so this video is just kind of an update on my journey. I am now about 9 months post-op. I had surgery on August 12th, 2019. Since then, I have lost about 125 pounds, give or take. So this video is just going to kind of cover 10 things that have kind of changed about myself since having VSG surgery, and just 10 things just that are different in general for me. Thing number one, I have so much more energy. Like, I used to dread going upstairs. I used to always park as close as I could. Whenever I went to stores or anything, now I don't mind parking as far away from the door as possible and walking. I can walk several miles per day without any issue. I go up and down the stairs multiple times without any issue. I find it is much easier for me to stay awake and alert and focused throughout the day when I'm working, without needing coffee or anything like that. Now, since my diet has changed, I don't get the itis like I used to. And it's probably just because I'm not eating so many carb heavy meals and starch heavy meals. I actually feel energized now after I eat because I'm eating better in general. I'm eating way more fruit and vegetable than I ever ate before. My protein intake is higher, and so I just feel better. All right, so that was number one. Thing number two, my hair. My hair, at first I thought I was going to avoid that post-op hair shedding that everyone else talked about, but I was not special. About 3 months in, I noticed a lot of my hair starting to shed when I washed it. And eventually it kind of progressed to where it would be handfuls of hair coming out whenever I washed my hair. So from everything I read, it's just there was nothing I could really do to avoid it. All I could try to do is minimize the impact of it. So what I started doing was wearing a lot of protective styling. I wear wigs often, and I manipulated my hair as little as possible. Since it was already in such a fragile state, I didn't want to go around and every 2 or 3 days I'm changing the style of my hair. I'm blow drying it, or I'm trying to flat iron it or something, which is something I haven't done to my hair in over a year. But still, I just kind of wanted to leave it alone and try to help it through this process as much as I could. I will say, I think though, the one thing that has saved me and why a lot of people claim they don't see the hair loss is I have really, really thick natural hair. So in my opinion, and from what I see, and because I know my hair, I feel like I have lost about 40 to 50% of the hair I had. But even with that hair loss, because my hair was so thick to start with, it still looks normal to everybody else. So that's just one thing to be mindful of. After a couple months, I started taking biotin and just really, really focusing on protein intake and water intake, and trying to make sure that I'm helping my hair from the inside out and not just trying to put external things on it, and not just putting treatment mask and clay mask and all that kind of stuff, which are things that are helpful. But the source of our hair loss after surgery, it isn't external, it's internal. So all we can try to do is just focus on taking our vitamins and meeting those nutritional goals that we have every day, and eventually it'll stop. I am 9 months out now, and it has significantly decreased. I had, like I said, it was 6 months of rough hair loss where I was afraid to touch it. But now I think we're starting to kind of bend the corner, and I think it'll be okay. All right. Number 3, flying. For any of us that are obese, we know that flying can be a bit of an uncomfortable ordeal sometimes, just because of the stares people give when you're walking down the aisle and they're hoping that you're not going to sit next to them, and even having to try to kind of discreetly ask the flight attendant for a seatbelt extender. And that really was one of the things that bothered me a lot before I had surgery. And it also made flying very expensive. So I just in general knew I could not fit comfortably into regular coach seats, or I would have to worry about I'm in a person's seat next to me. So I would always upgrade to business class or first class just to kind of be up there, have the divider between the seats so that I'm not intruding upon anyone else's personal space, and have more leg room and stuff. So flying is much better now. I no longer need seatbelt extenders. Yeah, I can get a regular coach seat if I choose to, or I can fly in the emergency exit row, which does not permit the use of seatbelt extenders. So now I can do that, you know, and it's just the small things like that that some people may never have to think about, but to us, you know, when we gain weight and become larger, flying is definitely something to think about. So that's one of the great things now. Number 4, my alcohol tolerance. Oh my Lord. So I was warned. My surgeon warned me. They actually pretty much don't want you really drinking at all, especially in that first year. But he warned me that if I did, my tolerance would change from what it used to be. I'm from New Orleans, you know. I used to be able to throw it back with the best of them. Now, one drink is all it takes. And I'm like, are y'all hot? Is it hot in here? It's not just me. Can we turn on the fan and can we turn the air conditioner up? Because it's hot in here. And that's one drink. So you definitely have to be mindful of that when you get back out and you start socializing, that you probably no longer can do those marathon sessions with your friends where y'all meet up at the bar and just drink for hours. You just can't handle it. Most of us can't. So for me, it's pretty much one drink, you know, and I'll kind of babysit it and nurse it for a while or whatever, maybe 2 if it's something real weak like sex on the beach or pina colada or something. But normally the only time I will be willing to have more than one drink is if I am at home, in the comfort of my home, where I can immediately go find my bed when it's time to lay down. Other than that, if I'm out and I know I have to be functional, I have to drive home later or whatever, I kind of, as soon as I get there, I have my drink and try to get it out of the way, because you do have that 30-minute gap in between when you can drink and when you can eat. So usually as soon as we're seated, I'll ask for whatever it is I would like to drink. And I just kind of drink that. And by the time we finally do put in an order for the food or whatever, I've finished the drink and the 30 minutes have elapsed. So be careful with alcohol. Number 5. There are a lot of foods, and I think I did what a lot of people did and kind of had this food funeral thing, where I thought there would be all these foods that I would really miss. And I had to have my last po' boy, and I had to have my last red beans and rice, and I had to have my last all this stuff. And it was kind of for nothing, because I don't miss it anymore. I don't miss it, and I never thought I would say this, right? I don't miss fried chicken. I don't miss po' boys. And when I do feel like I kind of want the flavors, then it's kind of interesting to find healthier ways to make those meals that you used to. So if I feel like everyone in my house, or say everyone in the house tonight says we want roast beef po' boys, that's fine, and I can handle that. I can cook that for them, and then I just eat mine breadless. You know, I have the meat, I have the gravy, I have the cheese, but I don't have the bread, which is the big component. Yeah, rice I've replaced with cauliflower rice, and it does not taste the exact same, but I will say if the food you put on top of it is good enough, it will get you through and give you that texture, and you really won't be able to taste the cauliflower much at all. If I'm craving pasta, I now have I have a spiralizer, so I just get zucchini and spiralize it myself and put a little bit of Mrs. Dash on it, saute it down for about 8 minutes, and then eat your spaghetti sauce and your meat or whatever it is you would prefer on top of it. And no, it's not exactly the same, but it is definitely close enough that I don't feel like I need to spaz out and go have actual pasta. So that'll be a good challenge for a lot of people, just figuring that out, figuring out the alternatives, you know, invest in you a good gastric sleeve recipe book. And it'll present you with a whole lot of options that may have never even crossed your mind. Like if I have a urge maybe for bread, then I just eat these things called sweet potato toast, which are these kind of sliced up sweet potatoes, and then you can just put whatever it is that you desire on top of them, and they're pretty good. Okay, with that being said, that takes me directly into number six. So I feel like, not just for myself, but I've always felt this way. If you have very, very specific food guidelines that you eat by, then it's your responsibility to make sure you have something to eat when you go places, or just don't go. 99% of restaurants you go to now have a website where you can look at the menu. And if there's just nothing there that suits you and you can't make it work, you can either not go or eat before you get there, you know, and maybe just enjoy the environment and a fellowship of being with your friends or family, and, you know, just slowly drinking or whatever. But I can't say really that there's anywhere I went where there was absolutely nothing I could eat. Usually they at least have grilled chicken or something like that. But I also, if I know maybe I'm going to a smaller thing or a brunch at someone's house and I've seen the menu, I don't expect them to accommodate me in the 4 ounces of food I'm about to eat. I just eat before I get there, or I bring it with me if I'm going to a barbecue. Maybe like, hey, do you mind? I'll provide it. Do you mind putting this fish on the grill for me? But again, most barbecues, we can eat whatever meat we want to. So there's really not a reason. The only request I may ask is if they have someone on the grill, just say, hey, do you mind having 2 pieces that you don't put sauce on for me? So that I can either eat it sauceless, or I can use my sugar-free barbecue sauce on it. But other than that, it has always been a pet peeve of mine of people that come to events and they completely don't prepare, and you want to get here and grill me about if everything I made is gluten-free and free of GMOs. And I don't know. I don't know. But I do know if you have a very restrictive diet that is not the norm, then that's kind of your responsibility, you know. And again, I'm the same way. There's just certain things I won't participate in anymore. I won't pay $50 to go to a brunch that has absolutely nothing I can eat at it. So that's just it. Be an adult. Be an adult. That's it as far as that. But again, don't project your individual needs on other people unless they offer. But don't get there and complain. All right. Thing number 7. It almost goes back to number 5, but I will say there will be foods that you used to love and think you could not live without, and now they don't cross your mind. But there will also be foods that you never imagined yourself eating, right? You could not pay me to eat cauliflower. Before surgery, I used to always say it looked like albino broccoli, and I just wasn't interested in it. Like, and people would say it doesn't have a flavor. I said, well, good, I really don't need to eat it. But now, you know, I find that I'm much more open and willing to try different vegetables. I never ate zucchini before surgery, and now I eat zucchini on a regular basis, even if it's spiralized and has some other stuff on it. Beans, I find myself liking black beans, something I always thought was weird, but I eat a lot of beans just for the protein and fiber that's in them. Cauliflower is a very versatile thing, and I've just had to embrace it. I actually recently had some gumbo over cauliflower rice. So that's just it. You have to be open and receptive. You can't, if you choose to focus on all of the things you can no longer eat, this is going to be a miserable experience for you. And you're probably going to end up slipping back into some old ways. So embrace the experience, get out there, try things that you've never tried. And that's kind of it. Number 8. This is one of the things, especially in some of the support groups I'm in, I find like shocking when somebody says, oh, I'm 4 weeks post-op and I just ate a hamburger from Wendy's. And I'm like, what? Like, how did you do that? Like, it had to hurt. It had to make you miserable. But now that I'm 9 months out, and in all honesty, I have tested the waters a little, like where maybe, okay, if I'm cooking, because I constantly cook for my family, we're constantly entertaining people, so I'm here making the mac and cheese and I don't have anybody to be my tester, I'm home alone prepping, then I may try a few noodles or whatever. And then I realized it went down with no problem, which can be a scary thing. And that's where a lot of us run into issues when we realize after getting a sleeve, for the most part, you can still tolerate pretty much any food. You are just highly encouraged not to, and a small percentage of us do experience dumping syndrome. But for the most part, even if it hurts your stomach for a second, the feeling will pass. And then we have people that are 6 months post-op and talking about how they eat pizza. Empty carbs will slide through your sleeve so fast. You will be sitting there terrified, wondering how you just ate a grab bag of Doritos or how you just ate 3 slices of pizza. It's because they are empty carbs. You have to make sure that you're eating protein-dense foods so that you can get the maximum effect of the fullness that it provides and everything. But I see it on a regular, people that are 6 months out and they're wondering, what's going on? Why have I only lost 40 pounds or whatever? And then when they're honest about it, they have to admit that they have not been following the diet the way that they should. They've been eating a lot of things. And there are some people that are just going to be slow losers. They're going to follow the plan to a T and still lose slowly. But the vast majority I've seen, they have to admit and be honest with they are eating bread, and they try to compromise it down. Well, like, well, I had a sandwich with just 1 slice of bread. You know, we really shouldn't be eating any. You know, or I just had a little bit of pasta, or, you know, or I just had 2 fried chicken wings, or, you know, and it is what it is. This is a free country. People are free to do as they would like, but just if you're not following the diet and you're eating a ton of empty carbs, don't project that and try to discourage someone that may say, hey, I'm interested in surgery. Don't tell them that the surgery doesn't work. It's a tool. Is a tool, and just like any other tool, you know, is only as effective as the user, to an extent. And so even my dietitian has said, you know, I don't want you to feel like you have to be deprived for life. And I totally get that, and I totally understand that. But I'm just not ready. You know, there's a reason I ended up in someone's operating room having 80 to 90% of my stomach removed, and it's because I didn't have limits with a lot of different food. I wasn't aware of appropriate portion sizes, and I just wasn't honestly aware of how bad some certain foods are for you. And so now I told her, now that I haven't had them, I really don't miss them, so I'm okay without it. And eventually I will get to a point where, you know, I may be okay with, okay, I can have, you know, a finger sandwich, or I can have this one thing I know I shouldn't. But right now, especially, where I'm at right now, I'm just not there yet. Like, yes, I've lost 125 pounds, but I still have a lot more to lose. So that's just it. It is easier to stick with the diet. Don't test those boundaries. Stop trying to see what you can tolerate. You should know that you can eat 3 slices of pizza when you're 4 months post-op. Like, you know, so that's just it. Don't test boundaries. We went through a lot to get this surgery, so make the most of it. Number 9, creativity with your food is essential, or you will get very, very bored. Like, very bored. And it's been so interesting. Like, there are certain things that I want. Like, if say I really want, what was it recently? I really wanted a meatball sub. I used to always eat those from Subway. Well, I can't have bread like that no more. So what I ended up doing, and I really don't eat much beef either. It really makes me feel weighed down and sluggish, and like it's taking forever to process through my system. So since surgery, I've probably can count on one hand how many times I've had beef. So going to Subway, even just for the meatballs, wasn't an option. So what I did was took turkey meatballs and a bell pepper and cut the bell pepper in half, cleaned it out or whatever, and stuffed it with the meatballs and low-fat mozzarella cheese and stuff. And it honestly, it was better. it was better than the subs. It had so much flavor, and I seasoned it just the way I wanted to, and I knew exactly what I was eating. I knew exactly how many calories were in the turkey meatballs I made. I used the no sugar added ragu marinara sauce, and you just have to be willing to get out there and explore and find the sugar-free or no sugar added alternatives of things, and there is a huge market for it. Is not like, I know a lot of people think it'll be impossible. They even make sugar-free jams and everything else. You know, if you're used to having that with breakfast, you just have to be willing to get out there and try it. And again, like I said earlier, 2 years ago, you could have never told me I would be eating gumbo over riced cauliflower, but I did, and it's kind of good, you know, and so that's my go-to now. So be creative, be willing to explore. There are a ton of recipes on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Facebook. There are so many weight loss food groups just dedicated to people posting all the different things that they've come up with. So there's resources out there. Don't feel like you just have to eat the same dry chicken breast and broccoli every single day. You've got more options than you would ever realize. Number 10. This is the biggest one. And this is something I feel really needs to be made clear to everyone. Like, you kind of have this honeymoon phase right after surgery, and some people say for them it lasts 6 months up to 18 months. But you're going to drop a ton of weight really fast, and then it's going to slow down. It may almost completely stall for some people. Don't freak out if you hit a stall. Normally, the best way to break a stall is just increase your water, increase your protein, make sure you're hitting your doctor's goals for your nutrition. But some people are just going to genuinely slow down to a crawl, and it's been that way for me sometimes. You know, I went from losing 30 pounds a month to some months I may only lose 5 or 8 pounds. And I'm still in what was considered that honeymoon phase. So it's just really important. And that's why I stress the importance of not testing boundaries, especially early in surgery, because that weight loss you're experiencing, where, yeah, you may be able to eat a cheeseburger, you may be able to eat that tortilla or whatever, it won't last. So you have to hit the ground running and just work your tool the best you can while you are in that honeymoon phase, from like that first 6 to 18 months for some people, because it's going to slow down. And at that point, you really are going to have to take a hard look at your nutrition and what you're eating, because once you hit about the 18-month mark, and for some people it's less than that, you lose weight or gain weight just like anyone else. So you have to be really, really mindful of your choices and just go for it. And even now, like, I'm 9 months out, but I'm still very, very strict about what I do. And now I'm really starting to exercise more and all that, because that weight loss slowed down. I'm not still losing those 20 pounds, you know. I may have lost 1 pound in the last week. And I had actually stopped weighing myself so much because it's very easy to become obsessive about it. So that's just kind of it. Those are 10 of the big things that I've seen. There are a bunch of other things, like, yes, people start to treat you differently. You also get little snide remarks from different people. Like, they will be like, oh, you still losing weight? You know, as if something's wrong with the way you look. And my response to that always is, don't be concerned about how much I've lost if you were not concerned about how much I had gained. So that's kind of it. If anybody's got any questions about anything, drop them down below. Till next time.